You know, Brian, I still don't remember taking my pants off in the hospital.
Buddy, we're not going to bring reality into this. We're doing the podcast right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So anyway, welcome back to the Vinyl Word Podcast. I'm Steve Beach.
And I'm Brian Mayer. Hello.
So we are starting How to Be a Better Bowler, Side 2, after a little bit long hiatus. So I was in the hospital for a couple of days, but that's okay.
Yep. Happy
So,
to be back. And
been
we did
busy.
find your pants eventually.
Yes, we did. We did. They were in the janitor's closet. Anyway, so yeah, we're excited to bring you this episode, and we thought we'd throw in some dogs into the mix on this episode too. So
How many dogs, Steve? All of them.
3, yeah. my 2 dogs, and Brian brought over his dog. So here's some dogs barking in the background. That would be why.
Yep.
So, which would also be fun to bring your dogs to a bowling alley, wouldn't it?
You know, it actually would probably be a calming influence.
It would be.
So,
See the dogs slipping and sliding on the alleys.
I think it would be hilarious watching them chase after the balls. And plus, it'd give you somebody to split a pitcher of beer with.
Right, exactly.
They could finish off the nachos at the end.
Absolutely.
Now that I'm thinking about this, that sounds like a great idea. They have cat cafes. Why can't they have dog bowling alleys?
bowling alleys. $1 million idea.
I'm all for it. That's what I'm saying. Okay, and the one last thing before we start here is we did a little bit of research on Billy G. He was born in 1929, and this album that we have done, Hear How to Improve Your Bowling, was released in 1960. So Billy G would have essentially been 30. I only bring this up because it's going to become pertinent when Billy G shares some attitudes regarding gender later on that are backwards, bordering on infuriating, and we will address that. Please know that. But this is where we're at. This record is what it is. The attitudes were what they were, but we can address the changes later on.
Yep.
All right, let's do it.
There are 3 more points to consider about how you deliver your ball. First, you have to turn it loose, and then
Really?
follow through.
Simple rules for
That
simple
seems
people.
to be so natural and normal. Yet, so many bowlers ignore this very important motion.
No, I always
Your
follow through
arm,
with my
don't
balls in their
forget,
motion.
is acting like a pendulum, moving back and then forward
Pendulum.
in one sweeping movement.
He's forgetting a
If
letter.
you stop the swing as soon as you let the ball go, you aren't getting the most out of your delivery.
Or you can
Let
just call
that arm
FedEx.
swing
You
forward
could, yeah.
Get
and
the most
up.
out of your
That'd be
delivery.
better.
Don't force it, but just do what comes naturally. Some people swing the arm in front of them as well as forward. That's fine.
Okay.
Some swing it away from him.
Okay.
That too is perfectly okay, as long as the ball is released before you
Sure.
twist your arm that way.
And some people swing both
In
ways.
short,
but that
as long
is
as you
not
follow through,
fine.
it doesn't
No, it
matter
is
how
not.
much or in what direction. But don't neglect it. This is one thing you can practice at home, perhaps better than at a bowling establishment.
Practice in your home.
Arrange a practice
just to let you know,
delivery
we are
spot
not
that will let you
responsible
finish
for
up
broken
next
items
to
in
a
your home when you
floor-length
practice
mirror.
this bowling.
Right, and
And
if you
go
do it in
into your
strange people's
delivery
homes, you're
and follow
guilty of
through
B&E,
normally.
bowling and entering.
Now
Right.
look in the mirror and see where your arm is.
Did I
If
lose
you've
it?
stopped your arm movement short near the
Where's
floor
my
somewhere,
arm?
you need help. One way to increase your
You also
follow-through
need help
is
if
by
you're listening to a
exaggerating the
record to
motion.
improve your bowling.
For a
Agreed.
while, think about the follow-through and consciously go through the motions.
Write a manifesto
Wind
about
up, if you feel like it, in a big gesture like you are the Statue of Liberty, or
it.
waving
And if you don't
goodbye
feel
to a
like
short
it, don't.
friend on a
I mean,
tall
I don't
boat.
care.
If you keep doing this for a while, eventually your arm will get the idea,
And
pretty
you'll get
soon you
tired.
can stop thinking about it.
Your arm will
There
get the
remains
idea.
only the
Your arm
problem
brain will
of
figure
aiming.
it out.
By now, I'm sure everyone knows that the ideal spot to make contact with the pins is in the pocket between the 1 and 3
I
pins.
thought it was in a bowling alley.
Yeah.
If you bowl a straight ball, you can
know,
simply aim for
he's
that
just better
spot
at
and
this than
fire
us.
away. Or with a rangefinder,
Home,
line your sights up with a
home
combination
on
of
the
dots and darts
range.
on the lanes that leads to the pocket, and aim to follow that imaginary line.
There's a skip there.
Yep.
A hook
Gotta
or a
love old
curve ball
records.
requires a different target.
Did he say a
You must
hooker
bowl with a
curveball?
hook or a curve for
Yeah.
quite a while
You always
before
bowl
you
with a
are
hooker,
sure what your ball
a curve.
does and how it will behave. Then you must aim for a spot just right so that your ball
bowling
will
is one
wind
of the
up in the 1-3
dirtiest,
pocket.
like,
That aiming
puns.
spot
Like,
is different for
gutters,
everyone.
balls,
For many hook
hookers.
throwers, it is the
Hooks.
6 pin, the one immediately behind and to the right of the 3 pin. But there's no point here in my telling you to aim at the 6-pin
So
or the
quit saying it.
rangefinders,
Yeah.
which
There's
will
no
bring you to
point.
the 6-pin because your
Waste
hook
my
may
time.
break differently.
Billy G.
Similarly,
bowling
a
nihilist.
curveball roller often aims at a spot on the channel halfway down the lane, or the rangefinders leading to that spot. But your
home
curve
on
may
the
be
range.
more sweeping, and you'll need an entirely different target. That's something you'll have to decide for
Aim
yourself.
for a bowler near you.
Generally, after hours of frustrating trial and error.
Three lanes over.
But the key to perfection is to deliver as much as possible in the same way and always aim at the same target.
Being a robot.
There is no such thing as par in bowling, as there is in golf.
So why bring
But
it up?
it has
What?
often been suggested that certain lanes are harder to achieve a good score on, just as certain golf courses are harder than other golf courses. The difference isn't in anything tangible, like longer fairways or more difficult approaches to the green, or bigger and better sand traps. The difference is in the surface of the lane itself. Some lanes are what we call fast. Others are known as slow.
Just like human
And the
beings.
same ball
Yep.
delivered with the
Very,
same
very
motion
true.
will behave differently on these different lane surfaces. The thing to do first, when you are bowling in a strange house, bowl 3 or 4 practice
Just
balls.
ask permission,
They'll let you
I
do
think.
this. During these tests,
Hey,
bowl in your
can I come in
normal
and bowl
way.
in your house?
I brought
Normal
my ball.
target, normal delivery. See where the ball goes. Suppose you find the ball hooking too soon, sweeping in too soon and hitting the head pin more often than the pocket. This type of lane is called fast.
I'm being good, Steve.
I know.
You can counteract the action of a fast lane like this in one of two
Life
ways.
in the fast lane.
First,
Surely make
you
it
can put a
bowl
bit
your
more
mind.
speed on the ball and otherwise use your normal delivery. This often is all that's needed. If you'd rather not attempt this additional speed,
Sedition.
try what we call bellying
it's-
the delivery.
He's a very
That means
revolutionary
to change
bowler.
the aim
is.
just a bit to the right so that the fast action of the hook will be counterbalanced and the ball should then come up a little bit on the pins and hit the pocket. This will take a little practice,
Are we
of
bowling
course,
at pins or
but
pockets?
you should be able to master
Both,
it by
I
the
guess.
3rd or 4th frame.
Yeah.
It just means
hard, but you
aiming
can
a
do it
bit to the
within
right,
minutes.
either on the pins as they stand or on the rangefinders.
Home,
The reverse of
on the
this is a
range.
slow lane.
He says that a lot.
You'll notice
does.
when you deliver your practice rolls that your hook hardly hooks. The ball
your
hits
bowl
closer
hardly
to the
bowls.
3-pin than the 1-pin, time after time.
Time
Okay,
after time.
now that you've identified the slow lane, how should you deal with it?
With remedial
You
classes.
could slow down your delivery,
It's usually
but
sitting
this
in
is
the corner.
very difficult to do. It's best not to attempt this. The
Or else you
accepted
might
way
die.
of tackling a slow lane
really is a
is
nihilist.
to change your stance. Move about 3 inches to the right instead of centering yourself on the lane. And as an added help, move your aim a trifle to the left, say at the head pin
trifle?
itself,
How much is a
or
trifle?
the
Well, a
rangefinders
trifle,
pointing
I'm
to
glad
the
you
head
asked.
pin.
It's actually 2 scooches
These two
for
alterations
4 a bit.
should prove equal compensation
Good to
for
know.
the average slow lane, and you'll soon be connecting with the pocket again. Once in a while, you'll find certain lanes where the ball acts differently at the end of the night
Because it's had
from
too
how
much
it
beer.
acted at the beginning. That's because the polish on the lane is being worn off. The result is that towards the end of the evening, the lane is no longer as slick and smooth as it should be. Any hook
Kinda
you
like
throw
me
will
after
be
beer, too.
magnified by
Right.
this condition as the lane assumes the characteristics which we call fast. It's a good idea then, if you find
characteristics of
after you've bowled a
fast.
game or two that your hook is cutting in too sharply, to think about this. And if it happens several times, begin compensating as you would for a fast lane. Either increase your speed or move your aim just a bit to the right.
Or
A
just
That
skosh.
should do the
yeah,
trick.
a skosh.
Converting a split into a spare is how you separate the men from the boys, and also
Steve
the women
Puberty
from the
does
girls.
the same thing.
Yes, it does.
Scoring a spare instead of just
Also,
leaving a
converting
few
fractions
pins
to
standing
decimals
can
separates
mean
nerds from
20 to
everybody
30
else.
points to your game.
Absolutely.
So you
I
see
got a
that the science of
strike.
knocking down those odd
Whee!
pins is a fundamental part of the game.
Bowling makes me
The
feel
average lead
weird.
is fairly simple. Generally, there will be 1 pin standing or 2 or 3 in a nice convenient group. Sometimes you'll get a railroad or split,
A railroad?
as it's commonly called, pins left standing that
What
are
is a
widely
railroad?
separated. These weirdos can be converted,
Weirdos!
but of course they are
He's
much
calling
tougher.
pins weirdos.
Let's first consider the simpler leaves. Look at the diagram on the jacket. Or if
pronunciation
you've lost
is
the
killing
jacket, remember that the pins are all numbered. The head pin is number 1. The second row consists of
He's
the
number
2
one.
and 3 pin, reading from left to right. In the
As
third
most
row
people
are
do.
pins 4, 5, and 6, and bringing up the rear are numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Are those the
The
weirdos?
most frequently
I think so.
encountered leaves are clusters, like the 1, 2, and 5, the 4, 7, and 8, the 2, 4, and 7, and similar combinations.
I think it's
You'll
Billy's
note
phone
that
number.
these groupings are
Yeah,
all
he's
made
a
up
lonely
of
guy.
pins that
He's
are
sending
touching.
out a message for help.
When
It's kind of sad he
confronted with
didn't
one of these
mention
common
the
leaves,
Mysterio
pick
cluster,
out
the
the spot
619.
that's in the center
Right.
of the group and aim right there. In many combinations, you can use the same delivery and aim at the same target as you used for your first delivery, your strike ball. The 1, 2, 5
ball.
lead, for
It's like a
example,
1980s
can be taken
action
care of
movie.
with a strike.
Yes.
So can the 2, 4, and 8.
In a world where
For other
bowling
leads,
is
you will have to
justice.
change your aiming
Starring
point.
Jean-Claude
If
Van
the spares are
Damme.
bunched on the left side of the lane, like the 4 and 7 pins, move your target a bit to the left. Either do
There's
this
your
by
bit
picking
measurement.
the pins
Yep.
themselves, or if you're operating on a rangefinder, pick a dart a bit to the left with your
On
strike
the
ball
range.
and
I
fire
only
away.
got one more of those left. in me, buddy.
Likewise, leaves that are concentrated on the right side of the lane, say the 6, 9, 10, should be attacked by aiming to the right of your strike ball path. Again, as your target, use either the pins themselves or a rangefinder target
What else
that
are you gonna
applies to the
use?
target you want.
Why don't they just make a bigger
One other
ball
simple
to
rule
pick up
for
a bunch of
spares.
spares?
Give yourself
just
all
one
the lane
giant
room you
ball
can.
you can roll.
There's different
What
clubs
I
for
mean
golf.
is that you
Yeah.
should move
What
your
is it for
stance
golf
to
or
the
bowling?
right to convert
Give me my
spares on
spare
the left
ball.
side of the lane,
Yes.
and move to the left for spares on the right side of the lane. In this way, you'll have more room to work and a better chance to knock the pins down.
Yep. You got to have
These
yourself
rules
lots of
apply
room,
to
Steve.
all
You have to
leads you
demand
may
other
encounter.
bowlers to
Aim
concede
to knock
land
them
to
down
you.
and give yourself as much
Think
lane
Putin
room
in
as
Ukraine.
possible.
Oh.
But sometimes
I
the
have
leads are
always
not
had this
bunched,
lane.
and then they become splits. Now, no matter what you read in the bowling books or see in the movies, the really tough splits like the
Bowling
7-10
books?
and even the 4-10 or 6-7
Just how
are
many
seldom
bowling movies
converted,
are there?
Yep.
even by the top pro bowlers.
Haven't you read the great
They
bowling books
require
from the
such a perfect
masters?
ball that they are almost impossible. But don't give up. Try them by all
Nietzsche
means.
famously said bowling
The
is
accepted
dead.
method is to clip the first pin on the edge so that it will fly and knock the other one down. It sounds simple, and when it works, it's a beautiful sight to behold.
Oh, yeah.
Only trouble
But it
is,
never
it very
happens.
seldom works, like the
So why tell
6-7.
us about it?
Since the 6 is the one you want
Billy
to
G,
clip, and the
bowler of
6 is the
nihilism.
right-hand pin, you stand
my
at the
hopes up for nothing.
left-hand end of the lane, and you aim so as to slice that pin on its right side edge. In theory, this will send the pin sailing across the lane, and
In
it should
theory.
knock down the 7 pin.
Now he's wearing a lab
If
coat
it does,
with a
give yourself a
checklist.
medal. Most of us
In theory,
professional
it does
bowlers find
work.
it very difficult to shoot these splits. We would much rather take one pin for sure, especially in league play. Actually, the only time we try to convert a real hard split
Is
would
it a
be either
major
on
league?
open bowling or once in a while on a television series.
A television
Some
series?
bowlers are strike happy.
Hill Street
If
Bowls.
they get a strike,
Right.
they're delighted. If they don't, they're miserable, and they're only half-hearted about their attempts to
I'm
convert
sorry,
their
I
lead.
have farted several times
They
in
are
a bowling
being
alley.
very foolish.
I've been with you. Yes,
Spares
you have.
are much more frequently encountered than strikes.
Frequently.
Think how rare a 300 game is. So they
I
deserve your
think Billy's
serious
having a
attention.
stroke.
Remember
I think
only
so.
the two basic rules. Give yourself all the lane room you can,
And give yourself
change
all the
your
lane
aim
room you
accordingly.
can.
and you'll get many more
Oh
spares than you miss.
no. Oh,
Bowling is the same for
no.
women as for men. There's no such thing as woman's par as there is in golf, or woman's
So
rules
why-
as in basketball.
Why does he keep bringing this stuff up and
In
says
bowling,
there's no such
women
thing?
sometimes
There's
use
no
a little lighter
comparison
ball,
to.
but they're shooting at the same
This never
pins,
happens.
rolling the ball the same distance,
He's talking about
and
women
trying
now.
for the same high score as men.
Like theoretically, they could
Since
just
one
use the
key to
record
good bowling
exactly like men.
success is
Right.
a graceful, rhythmic delivery, women really have a head start over men. By nature,
why?
the girls have a better sense of rhythm and have an innate grace that should be very helpful.
No.
They aren't as
no,
strong
no.
physically as men, but strength
Tell
really
that
is
to
a
Ronda
secondary
Rousey.
consideration in
Tell
bowling.
that to so
You
many
only need
athletes.
sufficient muscle power to pick up the ball and roll
Billy,
it. And as noted earlier in
Billy,
this
you gotta
record,
stop.
it isn't necessary
This was-
to roll the
this was
ball with
made
a
in the
great deal of power to get
1960s.
the strikes.
we're
You
going to
need
talk
some
about
power,
this.
but no more than the average female
Oh!
possesses. So basically,
It's
women
okay,
should
Brian.
be able
Calm
to
down.
bowl
It's okay.
every bit
It's
as
just a
well
record.
as men. And yet somehow they don't.
This gets my dander.
With
just
some
so that
notable
you know.
exceptions, women don't seem to reach the averages that men do.
I
think the
wonder
reason for
why.
is that women are afraid of competitive sports by and large.
You could think that, Billy, but you'd be
They
wrong.
think they will be
Yeah.
at a disadvantage
I know lots of
because
girls
they
and
aren't
women
as
who are
physically
competitive.
powerful as men. And this puts them at a psychological disadvantage to start with.
Psychological.
I've seen many women bowl, and most of them are timid
be
and
angry.
shy.
He's
They pick
dead.
up the ball as though it were a bomb, all set to explode.
Okay, now I'm angry again.
And roll it. If women conquered this timidity, they could be beautiful bowlers. And so, I'd like to suggest to all you girls who are bowling, or who are thinking about taking it up, that the first thing you realize is that bowling is
You
well
can bowl
within your
just like
physical
men.
ability.
It's well within
Pick
their
up the ball
physical
as though it were a
ability
head of
to
lettuce.
hold a
Go into
ball.
your delivery as though it were the latest cha-cha-cha step. You can bowl as well as you can do anything
Calm
else.
down, Brian. Calm down.
Naturally,
No.
since you aren't as strong as the average man, use a lighter ball.
Oh my gosh.
Find one that feels comfortable, that you can pick up and deliver without strain.
I think he is having a
if
stroke.
possible, since it doesn't put as much strain on your arm as the
You should think
three-step,
of a ball that
and doesn't require as much learning as the five-step.
I prefer those.
Go back to the section on this record on the delivery and learn the four-step delivery, which I described there. A few other points for women.
Hit with a blow
With a
dart.
lighter ball, the chances of making a strike
Or
are
just a
less
bowling ball.
than with a heavy ball. But that shouldn't kill your fun by any means. There are two ways to
You know what
counteract that
should?
problem.
Gender norms.
Some women seem to have the ability to throw a hook, and a hook increases your chances of making a strike.
Is he just calling women
You should
hookers
try to
now?
teach yourself
I think
a
he
hook.
did.
Not until you're well along, of
Billy,
course,
you are not
but
helping your
eventually.
case, buddy.
I described the hook on this record in the section on the type of ball.
Several times.
Yeah.
The other thing to do is to concentrate on your aim and try to get all the spares you can. Remember, you
can
can get a
bowl in high
respectable
heels
score in bowling
and an
without
apron.
ever making a strike.
Wear that string of
If
pearls.
you make enough spares.
They'll bring an oven
I'd
right
also
to
like
the
to
lane.
recommend that you girls who are just starting to bowl listen to the advice I have for beginners on the section of this
So now
record
he's saying
for
women are
beginners.
just beginners.
That advice applies to beginners of both sexes.
It
And I
should.
think it could be of genuine help to you as you
A
start
beginner
your
is a
bowling
beginner.
career.
Right.
Male or female.
Right.
Bowling is a
You don't have
sport
to have a
that appeals
penis
to all ages,
in order to be
from
a
the
beginner.
youngest to the
That's
oldest.
not a
There's
requirement.
no age limit to its attraction.
Let
By
the
all
children
means,
bowl
let the
to
children
me.
bowl.
Jesus said that.
It is
I
a
think
perfect
so.
exercise,
Matthew
a good,
6:15,
healthy
something like
release
that.
for their energies, and a
It's
fine
the
way
book
for
of
them to
Jimbo.
increase coordination. Then, too,
He said
it keeps them off the
coordination?
streets.
He did.
That's a
This is
problem where you
before
live.
they invented the double O.
However,
so they had to
few
use a
words of
QU.
caution are necessary. There is a tendency
Gotta be
nowadays to start
coordinated to
them
bowl.
too young. 6 and 7-year-olds may be able to pick up the very lightest bowling balls, and they may have a vague idea of the point of the game.
Yes.
But they are still entirely too young to be turned loose at a bowling establishment.
Or if
For
you
one
turn
thing,
loose
They
anywhere.
really don't have the
You're going to
strength
drop off
they
to a
need.
kindergarten or at a
For
bowling
another,
alley?
At that age,
Have fun,
you
Jimmy.
need a
See you in
more
4
balanced
hours.
exercise program.
Now
It is
remember,
much
Jimmy,
better
you got to get those
wait a
6
little
games
longer
in.
before you let them bowl as a steady diet.
Practice with those
A few
hookers.
games around that age, of course, will do no
Watch
harm.
those other strangers in
and
the
it
other
might
alleys.
be a good idea to get the child interested in this fine sport. But I don't advise letting a child bowl until he can handle
Well,
the
that's
ball
good.
without strain.
Yeah, sure.
First few
I-
times you take a child to a bowling establishment,
How are they going to
keep
bowl
him or
without
her
the ball?
closely supervised. Some lanes have instructors. Others have special classes for children.
I've never been to a bowling alley
Both
with an
these are
instructor.
ideal ways of starting a youngster.
Bowling classes.
If the establishment you
Welcome to
bowl
Ivy
at
Tech
has
and
neither
Remedial
of these,
Bowling 101.
take the child yourself.
We're currently in the
Let him
Billy
bowl with
G
you for a
Memorial
starter.
Hall.
Naturally, make very sure that the ball he uses first is light enough for him to handle.
Yeah.
Start
We
with the
call that
lightest
duck
you can
pin
find,
bowling.
and
Yeah.
only gradually let the
duck pin
child work
bowling's
up to the
awesome.
heavier ones. By the time he's a teenager, he should be able to handle a standard weight ball.
Well, you kind of hope so, don't you,
The first
Steve?
few times, let him stand right at the foul line and bowl from there.
I mean, otherwise they're going to
But
be
very
embarrassed.
quickly teach him the right form so he
Yeah,
learns the
because all
correct
their friends are
methods
hanging out
as
in
early
bowling
as
alleys
possible.
these days.
Again, a
Maybe
teacher
in
or a class
1960?
would be best for this
Maybe.
purpose.
Maybe.
But if neither is available, teach him yourself. If your bowling
More
style
paper.
is unorthodox, try getting him to copy some other bowler who
If you're-
does things
if you're
the accepted
bringing
way.
in a sledgehammer and
In the long
watermelons
run,
while
this is
you're
better
bowling,
than teaching him a pattern, which may be fine for
R.I.P.
you,
Gallagher.
but would be awkward for someone else.
although all the
On
watermelons
his
in the
first day at
world
the
are
establishment,
singing joy
you
right
don't
now.
even need to play a real game. Maybe he'd rather just watch.
You play a
Perhaps he's
fake
a bit
game.
embarrassed
Bowling.
by his own lack of skill. That's
called Wii
natural with
bowling.
children.
Yep.
Let him watch for a night or two. Then he'll probably come to you and ask if he can try
Make
it.
your kids watch
Then,
Strangers
of course,
Bowl.
let him roll a ball or two.
They'll be
next
bored
step
out of
is a
their
game.
minds. But
Keep
you
giving
won't
him
have to
hints,
talk to
and
them.
don't worry if he gets tired and quits in mid-game.
I did make I
Don't
made like a little
deliberately
pitch here for
throw
him.
the game
So,
to him, but do
bowling
your
is the
best
ideal
and show him
family
how to do
activity.
his best.
It has everything
Many
you want.
families enjoy bowling
Alcohol,
together.
you can smoke
It's the one
indoors.
sport where the
it's
whole
loud,
family
so
can
you don't have to talk to
participate,
your wife.
And if your children
It's
get
not
off on
very
the right
tiring.
bowling foot,
And
it's a
you
great
can
way
send
for
the
a
kids that
family
you don't
to have
like
a
to the
wonderful night
arcade.
together.
Yeah.
I went to the
For
arcade.
beginners, one
Wholesome
thing you have
family
to learn
entertainment.
right
Yeah.
away is how
Spend
to
the night
pick
together.
up a bowling ball.
Yep.
It seems to me that 9 out of 10 people on their first time at a bowling establishment wind up by getting their fingers banged up. When you're picking a ball off the rack,
I'm not saying anything.
keep your hands on the side of the ball, away from the balls next to it.
Look at how
If you
good I'm
don't,
being
as
safe.
another ball rolls up on the rack and slams into the ones already there, your fingers are liable to be in the middle of a bowling ball sandwich. That's only a small
Bowling
thing,
ball
of course,
sandwich.
but it can really
Filled with
make you very
grease,
unhappy if you
wood
get your fingers
polish.
pinched.
Right.
The first impressions can be
Yes.
strong, so such a happening could sour you on bowling for a long time. That's about the only chance you ever have of getting hurt while bowling. It's probably the safest sport known to man or beast, except perhaps professional wrestling.
What?
As far as your own bowling
Professional
is
wrestling is
concerned, there
safe in
isn't
Billy's
really much
book?
to tell.
No,
If
absolutely
you listen
not.
to the rest of this record, you've
The
heard
guy
me
has
say
never
in
watched
several
wrestling.
places that
Never.
the thing to strive for is comfort and naturalness. Dress comfortably, roll the ball naturally.
Comfortably.
At first,
Enunciate
just to
every
get the hang of the
syllable.
thing, it might be sensible to stand right at the foul line and roll the ball from there.
And chuck it like a granny
Once you
shot.
understand
Yep.
how the ball behaves, you can
Take
gradually
4
move back
minutes to
until you are
roll
in the
down
correct
the aisle.
position for one of the standard deliveries. Another thing to do in bowling, as in every other sport, is to be a good watcher.
Steroids.
Pick out a bowler who seems to be graceful and well coordinated. Watch the way he does it.
Really well
The way he
coordinated.
stands, the way he holds the
So
ball,
that's stroke
how he
again.
moves, how he follows through.
I'm just imagining him like
Try to
holding his
imitate his
left
style.
arm.
Imitation, remember, is the
Smacking it.
sincerest form of flattery. During all this time, you will undoubtedly be getting lots of free advice. This is good, of course, because
Stop being a
bowlers are
pansy.
generally a friendly, helpful group, and they are trying
How
to
do
be
you hold
kind.
your balls?
The only trouble is that much of the advice will be contradictory. You'll hear one man tell you to
Contradictory.
crouch lower, and another will tell you to stand up straight. Somebody will say that your backswing is too big, and somebody else will advise you to make it bigger. And so
Some
it
will
will
say
go.
sit crisscross applesauce
The thing to
in the
do,
floor
of
and bowl.
course, is to listen only to the one person, but be sure he's a bowler who knows what he's talking about. It might be a good idea at first
most
to ask
bowlers
one
claim to be.
particular bowler to watch you and tell you what you're doing wrong. And from then on, do just what that one person tells you to do, no matter what conflicting opinions you'll get from the other kibitzers.
Listen to
And
everything
practice,
he says,
practice,
Steve.
practice.
Kibitzers?
The more you bowl, the better you'll be.
What are
Yeah,
That's
kibitzers?
true of every sport.
Well,
and
clearly
certainly true of
Billy
bowling.
G is Jewish, and
If
he's
you only
speaking
bowl
Yiddish
once a
here.
month,
So
you'll
don't
have
get all
fun, but
verklempt
you'll
over
never
it,
be a
buddy.
good bowler.
We'll talk about
It
it
takes
later.
several games a week over a period of months before a beginner can become a reasonably good bowler.
Or
You may not want to
destroy
do
his
any more
marriage.
than have
Yeah.
fun. And as I've said earlier, that's easy. But for those who want to get a higher and higher average, you must practice and polish your style, work on your delivery, and perfect your aim. That's all there is to it.
That's
And
easy.
now you're on your own. So go out and have a ball. A bowling ball, of course.
Oh, he's so punny.
That joke was in the gutter.
It was.
I want to thank you all for coming. I prepared a written statement and will not take questions. To Billy G, the person, I believe in Jesus and am therefore required to love you. That love, however, does not extend to your backwards and sexist opinions. Women are not afraid of competition, Billy. There's a world of difference between being bad at something and having an entire culture constructed to force you into a predetermined lane. I don't mind that lane being there, but what I do mind is not allowing for any other options. Women are not so simple, Billy, because people are not so simple. So in conclusion, Billy G, God bless you, and may your opinions die in a fire. Thank you.
I have a question.
No.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, we have to remember these are old records, and this was in the early '60s when, women weren't as equal as men.
No,
Same freedoms as they do today.
In law and in culture and in societal expectation. And
Right.
it wasn't just women, but this record deals with this issue
Right.
in this way. And so we want to bring it up. And this really does impact me personally because I am a father of 3 kids, one of which is a daughter. My daughter plays sports the exact same as my 2 boys. She does multiple sports. And I have told her time and again how lucky she is to be born now instead of 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Because 70 years ago, her options would have been maybe kickball, and that would have been it.
Swimming, maybe.
Maybe. And then, even if she did want to play a sport, she would have had to have played in a boys' league, and they would have called her probably names.
Yeah, all kinds of names.
Yep, I'm not going to say any of them here, but you guys are adults. You know what she would be called, and it infuriates me that there was an entire generations of athletes lost
Yeah.
because they just didn't have the options.
Right.
They literally did not exist,
Right.
and they were treated like this,
Yep.
dainty and graceful.
Right.
And infuriatingly, the women are good for making food
Making pies
and
right.
making babies.
Yeah. It cracks me up when he says the whole reason women aren't as competitive because they're timid and afraid. Yeah, that's the real reason why.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the male-dominated society of the 60s and late 50s
No.
and before.
And that's the thing. But he is so enmeshed within that Billy G doesn't realize that. And
Sure.
And
Sure.
no one really did. It took a bunch of women standing up and forcibly fighting against it in order for that to be seen.
Right.
And we can counter, and people can argue and have their positions, but I, for one, personally, am so happy that women now have options that did not exist
Absolutely.
before.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening. This has been How to Be a Better Bowler Side 2. And this is also our last episode for this year.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Steve!
So,
I like this.
I know. I didn't say
Are you
ever.
firing me?
I didn't say ever. I said
You
this.
son of a...
Stop.
Oh,
Said last episode of this year.
okay. Oh.
So, but we are going to be doing. We're going to be doing a best of episode. So you'll hear clips from our other episodes, kind of our favorite moments.
You need to
kind of thing.
coordinate the
You
words.
need to coordinate the words together. So that's what we'll be doing. But yeah, we're looking forward to starting with some new records in January. But hopefully you'll tune in to our best of episode. I'm kind of looking forward to reviewing our past episodes and finding our craziest and funniest moments.
Yeah, I'm afraid that it's going to be like a 45-second episode.
Oh gosh, no, heck no.
No, this has been a lot of fun. We already have at least one record, maybe more, in the queue for next year.
Yep, we
And
do.
there's some interesting ones coming.
Yes, there are.
Like,
We've got a few in the waiting.
I continue to be amazed at how insane some of these records really are.
Yes.
All
So-
right, well, that sounds like fun, Steve. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yeah. So remember to subscribe, and you can find us on Facebook at The Vinyl Word. And if you ever have any questions, complaints, snide remarks, we'd love to hear them. You can send that to vinylword22@gmail.com.
Unless they're negative, don't send those.